Mount Moon is the first real dungeon in the Pokemon franchise. In it are 4 Pokemon to get: Clefairy, Paras, Geodude and of course Zubat. I think I never used Geodude before, should be a very interesting Pokemon challenge. Here are the rules. I think Brock may take a while because of my starter, but afterwards it might be quite easy until the late game. So let's begin. I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to change Charmander to Clefairy. I think this is the most iconic Mount Moon Pokemon and Blastoise might result in the hardest final battle. Speaking of hard battles, after receiving a Pokédex and some Pokeballs, I tried Brock at level 9. Of course I knew it was way too low, but I wanted to see how I stand. Sing and Encore can stall the battle very easily, but the damage isn't there. I won't show the full battle, but in the end it wasn't even enough to KO Geodude. I think Double Slap might help a lot. At level 13 is Double Slap and the battle went way better, but it was still not enough. I was able to face Onix this time around, but it wasn't enough and I go down while Onix has still half HP left. Now at level 15, the damage seems to be high enough to push through. Geodude takes a long time, but with Double Slap and Encore, it goes down after some minutes. Against Onix, I got a bit lucky, hitting with Sing when it was needed. At the end I had to decide to either gamble on Sing again or just push for the KO. I went for the damage because Attract was still active from Clefairy's ability. In the end Onix went down and Clefairy was still standing, beating Brock, earning the first badge and opening up the way to Mount Moon, the most important part of this run. Inside Mount Moon are very strong Pokemon. The first is of course Zubat. A lot of people don't like it, since it represents the caves. Every 2 steps is another Zubat, but in this run it will shine and show everyone how good it really is. The next one is Geodude. Brock already showed how good it could be, and I have big plans for this one. It will be amazing. Last is Paras. I used it before, and it's really hard to use if the abilities are used by other Pokemon in the team already. But this time it's the only grass and bug type I have, so it can show what it is made of. Since Clefairy don't really learn anything relevant, I let it already evolve into Clefable. Not learning any more moves is really sad, but there are a lot of good TMs which will be of good use. At the end of Mount Moon are 2 fossils. I thought about it, technically they are inside and should be usable, but I will think about it and decide later if I need them or not. Of course, Helix Fossil it is. In Cerulean City are 2 major battles. I start with the rival at Nugget Bridge. Usually Pidgeotto can be very hard to beat, but I have a Geodude now. You can use Rock Throw to KO it in 2 hits. I gave a Rock Tomb earlier to get the leveling going, but I like Rock Throw way more. Against Squirtle I can switch out into Paras. I could just deal damage, but think it will take a while and use Poison Powder first. Bullet Seed is just that weak. That's most likely the worst thing about Paras, it only learns Giga Drain, and that very late at 43 or 51 as Parasect. While Abra is out I can switch into Clefable. It actually took 2 pounds to KO Abra, but only 1 Mega Kick for Rattata. The battle is over and it was quite easy thanks to Geodude and Paras. After a short visit at Bill's house to find the newest inventions, I realized that Clefairies can evolve into humans. Very fascinating. Before moving on to the next city, I face Misty and see how things stand. Paras goes first against Staryu. Hardness and move I really like. It doesn't deal any damage and Bullet Seed is not affected by it at all. It does survive 1 usage of Bullet Seed, but that's actually fine. Super Potion will be used here instead of Starmie. But Staryu doesn't go down that easily and has to hit with Water Pulse before going down. Starmie is very fast, so I want to see Stun Spore first. Of course it missed. But if you have a plan, try to stick to it. The damage is actually really okay for Paras to handle, and it seems like I can get off some nice damage. The fact that Starmie was not paralyzed once but twice helped a lot. So much so that Paras was able to beat both Staryu and Starmie on its own. Misty's out of Pokemon and the second badge is already mine. In Vermilion City, after trading Spearow for Farfetch'd and getting the bike voucher, I can grab the TM for Brick Break on the SSN, which I probably won't even use, and then challenge the rival again. Not much has changed from the Nugget Bridge battle to this one, so the strategy stays roughly the same. First a Geodude against Pidgeotto. The first Rock Throw hits fast, but it took a lot of turns until I hit again to finish the bird off. That's one of the few reasons I don't like rock types. The hit rate is really bad. Next is Wartortle and I switch immediately into Paras. going for the poison powder and bullet seed damage again. Very interesting, it works so good for now, but I feel the damage will not be enough at the next rival battle. Now comes Eradicate and I stay in trying something, but go down immediately. Geodude has a way better chance to beat it, and after the first magnitude for 4, I got the real magnitude off and Eradicate is done. Last is Kadabra and I know that Geodude can't beat it, but that's fine. Clefable can beat it, I use Mega Kick first, but miss, and then switch to Pound because of the Sable, and it worked out really good for me, beating Kadabra with 2 hits in the end. The rival is again defeated by Team Mount Moon, and I hope this won't change for a while. Giving the captain a rub so great, he felt that I deserved the HM for cut, which allows me to enter the next gym. The next gym leader is Lieutenant Surge, and I have a Geodude with magnitude. Yes, the battle was very easy. Just pressing on magnitude until everyone is defeated. Double team could be an issue, but only Pikachu used one and I hit it despite of that. There's not much else to say. Lieutenant Surge was easy, again, and will remain so, I guess. But now comes the part where the game opens up a lot. On the way to Rock Tunnel, Zubat evolves into Golbat. And usually I want to evolve Golbats immediately into Crobat, but Crobat isn't in the Kanto part of the game, so I won't. I usually battle him way later on, but today I make a little exception. The rival Pokemon Tower was planned to be tackled right after Rock Tunnel, and here I am. First up is Pidgeotto against Geodude, and I hope that Rock Slide one-hit KOs, but it didn't. Thanks to Sand Attack, it takes several turns, but in the end, Geodude was able to hit and Pidgeotto goes down. Next is Wartortle and I switch out to Paris, but Bullet Seed deals so little damage, I need Poison Powder to KO in a good amount of time. But it missed not once, not twice, but 3 times, and then Paris went down. That was one of the worst performances ever. Clefable comes in and has Shockwave, which deals a good amount. A second one and Wartortle is defeated. Maybe Paris isn't strong enough just yet. Growlithe is on paper a good answer, but I do have Water Pulse and that is unfortunately super effective against Growlithe. A very bad situation. The damage in return doesn't matter and a second one KOs the Fire Dog. Execute is part grass and I want Golbat to handle it. Thankfully, Hypnosis misses, but I realize that it does have confusion and this could have been a slight issue. Last is Kadabra and I just stay in to push some damage even though it didn't KO in one hit. There was no way the rival can still win and Kadabra just goes down against Golbat. It felt quite nice to beat the rival right after Rock Tunnel. Maybe I'll do that more often in the future. Or maybe not, I don't know yet. On the way to Celadon City, Geodude finally evolves into Graveler. I really like this Pokemon. I have some history with it, which I will never forget. More about it maybe later. After opening up the gates with the old woman's tea and grabbing all the important items like the HM Fly and the coin case, I want to challenge the gym leader of Celadon City, Erika. As usual, if Golbat is part of the team, it will be used as the main protagonist here. Wing Attack against Weak to Bell doesn't KO in one go, but missing Stun Spore is great, even though Cherry Berry was equipped for exactly this situation. Tangela can't do anything against Golbat, but it takes 2 hits as well. Best it could do would be Constrict, so it's nothing. Erika's Ace of Wild Rune can be a bit more interesting until one realizes. It has Acid and Giga Drain. Both are nearly useless against Golbat. But yeah, Sleep Powder could have been an issue maybe, but not really. Erika is defeated and that's one of the strengths the Zubat line has. It is just amazing against grass types. While beating the Team Rocket grunts under the game corner, Paras evolves into Parasect. I think this is way better and perhaps can beat some Pokemon now. The leader of Team Rocket hides in the deepest level under the game corner. He has an item I really need and that's why we battle. I have Parasect first against Onix and realized I forgot to teach it Giga Drain, which means it will take some time to beat Onix and then Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn actually survived one use of Bullet Seed, but it doesn't have any relevant moves against a Parasect. Last is Kangaskhan and I actually thought I could use one move, but got destroyed by just one Mega Punch. That was crazy. Graveler is next and will beat Kangaskhan, it just takes some time. Like a lot of time. Maybe Brick Break would help, but it's too late now and the defense is so good against only normal type attacks that it doesn't really matter. Giovanni is defeated and runs away. While doing so, he leaves the Silph Scope for me to use. which is very much needed to reach the top of Pokemon Tower and Mr. Fuji. I'm not sure why he is in this very secluded place, but he thanks me anyway, and I receive the Pokeflute to wake up Snorlax and travel south to Fuchsia City. After checking out the Safari Zone and grabbing the HM for Surf, I can challenge the gym leader of Fuchsia City as well. That is Koga, of course, and his team is based around the idea of being poison type. I have Clefable with Psychic, that should be enough. First coughing goes down in one hit, very good. Muk is way more tanky on special defense and minimize can be a problem, but I hit 3 times in a row to KO, but the damage Clefable received was immense. Hopefully it works out. Second coughing comes out and goes down in one hit as well, but that was expected. Koga's Ace Weezing is here and Psychic does more than half, while Sludge hits and KOs Clefable. A bummer, Clefable wasn't able to KO Koga's team. I choose Graveler next and see that Rock Slide does a really low amount of damage, but I kept it up for some turns until the Hyper Potion was used. I used some Rock Slides more, just to see how it goes, but I realized Golbat should be the better opponent for Weezing. Sludge deals way too much damage, but Golbat has Wing Attack and Confuse Ray. The damage was quite fitting, so that Koga first used another Hyper Potion and then the full heal to remove the confusion, but I can just use another one and continue with the damage. I realized later that Bite is special and should deal around the same damage, with the additional chance to flinch, but it was already too late, that Weezing was basically already done. Koga is out of Pokemon and I received the next batch, only one thing left to do before I can leave the mainland of Kanto. At the Silph Co I defeated some Rocket Grunts to let Graveler evolve into Golem. I know it's a trait evolution, but I was asked why I didn't use one before and I thought that's actually a good question. So here it is, a trait evolution. The story behind Graveler is quite interesting. Back in the day, we didn't know how it evolves and actually grinded it up to level 100. It was just different back then. While inside Silph Co, why not challenge the rival to see if I need to get some more levels or not? I actually know that Parasect at least needs more levels, but let the battle speak for itself. Against Pidgeot I start with Golem and Feather Dance was used, which is the worst move to see. Rock Slide even missed, so this might take some turns. But the next 2 Rock Slides connect and Pidgeot will go down against that. Start is looking good. Blastoise is super dangerous against Golem and I switch into Parasect. The level difference is very sketchy. But Parasect didn't have any avenues to train yet, so this will be on my to-do list now. The rival switches out into Growlithe since Blastoise can't do anything here. I switch out as well into Golem and of course the first fire type move immediately burns Golem, just so that I won't deal any good damage anymore. Great. But still Magnitude nearly one-hit KOs the dog and the second one does KO. Blastoise back in and I want to use self-destruct to finish it, but Blastoise wakes up to KO Golem before it self-destructs. Golem never got the chance to shine here. Parasect comes back in and I thought this will be easy, but no. Bite hits and flinches just so that the next turn Bite critical hits to KO Parasect without doing any moves. What is going on? Clefable is here and uses some shock waves to KO Blastoise. That was way closer than I actually expected it to be. Don't know if I did anything wrong, but I think this was just bad luck. Execute is now here and Golbat would be a better option, but the switch itself is very dangerous against Hypnosis and Stun Spore. So I stay in with Clefable and hit Psychic as much as I need. It takes several turns, but Clefable goes down while Execute barely hangs on. Golbat comes out, uses one Wing Attack and there's only one Pokemon left. Alakazam unfortunately does not have any relevant damaging moves and just spams Future Sight until it is down by a Golbat, which is actually embarrassing. The rival is done and I can move on to the final boss of the Silph Co. Giovanni is an interesting character on its own, being the leader of Team Rocket and making this big plays in taking over Silph Co, for example. His team could be a bit better as it gets destroyed by Golem right now, but I like the overall idea. I actually thought Parasect should easily handle Rhyhorn, but Rock Blast nearly KOs while doing only 2 hits. Parasect, what am I doing wrong with this Pokemon? Anyway, Giovanni didn't stand a chance, never really did, and I have to decide to beat up Sabrina or Blaine next. After checking the move pools again, I realized Sabrina is not a real issue. I have Golbat and at the Cerulean game corner is Shadow Ball to get. So I get it, teach it to Golbat and let's go! Kadabra and Mr. Mime don't stand a chance against the Shadow Ball, while Venomoth is weak to flying type attacks, or Wing Attack in this specific case. Sabrina's Ace Alakazam looks very dangerous, but Golbat was faster and one Shadow Ball ends it on the spot. Sabrina is defeated and it was doable, but I think Clefable with return could have done so as well. Maybe. After arriving at Cinnabar Island and searching for the key in the Pokemon Mansion, I can challenge the gym leader Blaine. I tested some battles against him and most of them ended in utter failure. I started with Golem against Growlithe and just used one Magnitude to KO. That's the easy part. Now comes Arcanine and I want to remove the Intimidate, switching into Parasect, who gets destroyed in one hit. I choose Golbat next and use Confuse Ray, hoping for at least one extra turn, but it snaps out of confusion immediately and hits with Fire Blast, which leaves me with exactly 1 HP. I get some damage on it and then hit with another Confuse Ray before going down. Golem comes back in and Arcanine snaps out again, but misses with Fire Blast, which is huge. I hit with Magnitude critical and Arcanine goes down. Amazing, that worked out perfectly. Ponyta's here and survives Magnitude. I really need Earthquake. Magnitude is not reliable at all. Last is Rapidash and I just go for Self-Destruct, no reason to try beat it with other moves. Blaine is out of Pokemon and it worked out quite nicely, to be honest. Only one more badge to go. The final batch is the final battle against Giovanni. His team is very one-dimensional and I want to see some Parasect action again. The first Pokemon is Rhyhorn and Giga Drain KOs it in one go. Giovanni thinks that his second Rhyhorn could beat me, but it doesn't, and goes down in one hit as well. Now comes Nidoqueen and I want to put it to sleep with Spore, but Body Slam hits and paralyzes. Spore hits anyway, so I can switch out into Clefable. I use Water Pulse in case it confuses and then Psychic to KO. Nidoking can deal a bit of damage and Water Pulse unfortunately didn't confuse, but maybe I should have used Psychic in the first place. It proved to be too much and Nidoking goes down. Last is Dugtrio and I go for Psychic, even though Water Pulse would have been better. But a crit shows it didn't really matter. Giovanni's out of Pokemon and I received the last badge, so only the last badge of the game remains. And I'm curious how good the rival is against me. I brought everyone up to level 40 and see how it goes. This is the first try and I have a feeling I need a lot more levels to beat him. First is Pidgeot against my Golem. Wing attack deals nearly no damage and Rock Slide nearly KOs, not much was missing. I chose Brick Break to KO and Sea Feather Dance, but it didn't matter. Blastoise is next and I switch into Parasect because Blastoise, for some reason, has nearly no good moves, but Bite is good enough. Seeing flinches is always quite devastating. After Spore connects and some Giga Drains were used, the rival switches out into Growlithe while Rain is active. Very interesting choice. I switch into Golem, would be able to tank anything Growlithe has to offer and then KO with Earthquake in return. Blastoise comes back in and I was actually shocked how little damage Earthquake did. It wakes up the turn after and KOs Golem, and with only a Water Gun as well. I choose Parasect again and use one Giga Drain to clean it up. Rhyhorn is next and all it did is restore Parasect's HP back to full. Thank you, I appreciate it. Execute has only one attacking move and that is Solar Beam. So I just stay in and press on Slash until Execute is defeated. Thanks to Stun Spore it will take a while, but when it is finally done I can move on to the last Pokemon, Alakazam. Most of the times I cannot beat it, it just lets me beat it. Parasect goes down and I choose Golbat next. Shadow Ball hits but didn't KO. Future Sight will not help in this situation and I win the next turn with another Ghost type move. The rival is defeated and this was a bit easier than I expected. But the champion battle has full restores and way better movesets, so I look forward to it. As usual I tried level 50, which is lower than the lowest level the Elite Four has. I think the Elite Four itself may be doable and the champion will be very hard. But let's find out. The first Elite Four member is Lorelei, and I actually have an idea on how to easily beat her, but she has to play with me for a bit. First Dugong and I start with Parasect using Spore. Hail is fine, Safeguard would have been bad. Afterwards I switch into Clefable, it has Core Mind and it's probably the strongest move to have here. I use one, Dugong immediately wakes up and deals some damage with Ice Beam. But why stop here? I use another one and Surf hits and crits to nearly defeating me. Maybe that was a bit too greedy in the end? Dugong won't survive a Thunderbolt. Now comes Cloyster, but it's very weak on the special side. Next is Slowbro, but Thunderbolt is too much and KOs in one go. Lorelei's Ace Lapras is another thing. It actually survives one hit and KOs easily. That was sad. I use Golem next because of full restore turn, but I used the wrong move. Brick Break is never enough. I try again and Ice Beam hits, but I survive on actually 1 HP to use Self-Destruct and destroy Lapras. That was so close. Last is Jinx and Golbat has Shadow Ball, so it's not a big deal. Lorelei is out of Pokemon and the first Elite Four member is defeated. It was actually way crazier than I expected. The second Elite Four member is Bruno, and he is usually the weakest one by far. I don't really have a nice strategy in mind, but I just want to push the damage and it should be fine. First Onyx and I use Parasect. Giga Drain, very nice attack here, one-shotting Onyx. Next is Hitmonchan and I use Spore. As long as no Rock Tomb is used, it is not an issue. And while Hitmonchan is asleep, Aerial Ace can KO it in 2 hits. The damage was actually super close. Bruno's Ace with Champ is on another level, but I am faster somehow and have Spore, which is probably the worst combination of moves one can imagine. At the end, just to make sure the KOs without any full restore, I push it into range with Slash. Hitmonlee's next and Mega Kick deals an insane amount of damage. I try to deal some, but it wakes up earlier than expected and KOs Parasect. Very unfortunate. Golbat comes in to deal the rest with Wing Attack. Last is Onyx and I don't have an easy answer anymore, with Parasect being out. I use Confuse Ray and switch into Golem. Onyx is faster and deals good damage, but my Earthquake nearly KOs, so it's just a trade of full restores against Earthquakes until I somehow KO from full HP. I'm not complaining, I take the win against Bruno and move on. Agatha can be one of the hardest battles or one of the easiest one, depending on the teams used. For this team, it's complicated. I start with Clefable against Gengar and double team blanks my first move, which is quite annoying. Another double team and I hit but don't KO. Full restore is perfect for one Core Mine turn. Confuse Ray is the other move I really dislike, but Psychic hits regardless and the first Gengar is down. Now comes Golbat, but it doesn't have a good move against Clefable yet. Hitting myself and then finally KO the Flying Bat feels quite good. Arbok can be really strong, but I'm faster, snap out of confusion and just hit for the KO. Agatha's Ace, the second Gengar, or Gengar 2, has Sludge Bomb, but Clefable survives on 7 HP and hits back with Psychic, but it doesn't KO. No problem, it's a full restore turn, and now I KO? I don't know, but I take it. Last is Haunter, but it's way weaker than any Gengar and just goes down. Agatha is defeated and it was more on the easier side, but not really clear what's going on. But Golbat with Shadow Ball was still here if Clefable wasn't able to make it. Lance, the final Elite Four member, usually the strongest of them all. Why usually? Well, Clefable has Core Mind and Gyarados has no good moves against Clefable. I need exactly 1 Core Mind and the team is just done. 1 Thunderbolt for Gyarados, 1 Thunderbolt for Aerodactyl, and 1 Ice Beam for each Dragonite and the 2 Dragonair. I actually feel bad how anticlimactic this was. And not only that, I remember the game corner run where I had a Clefable as well, but didn't do that move pool justice at all. Anyway, Lance is defeated and the Elite Four is done. Only the champion battle left. I don't think he falls over as easily as Lance did. The champion battle was very hard to figure out. I have a lot of tries and the real battle needs a little bit of luck at one specific situation. But it was possible. First is Pidgeot and I choose Golem against it. Using Brick Break seems very strange. But the rival can't beat Golem and will switch out. But it is a Pokemon who resists fighting and that is Executor. When it arrives, I switch into Parasect to use Spore and then into Clefable. It has to stay asleep for 2 turns or 1 turn and then use Sleep Powder because of Lumberry, it would be fine. 2 Core Mines is all I need to beat one particular Pokemon. Okay, Executor is down regardless. Next is Alakazam, the real issue as usual. Thanks to Core Mines, I can easily tank the Psychic and hit back with Thunderbolt to KO it. Golbat was good against Alakazam in the past, but it is just too slow here. Pidgeot deals a good amount of damage, but goes down in one go as well. Rhydon looks dangerous, but 1 Ice Beam is all it took to beat it. The pseudo-legendary Arcanine is too strong and defeats Clefable in the end, but that's fine. I choose Golem next and this worked out way different than I expected. Earthquake hits it into the red and of course full restore will be used. I wanted to remove all the full restores and then maybe go down to let someone else finish the job, but I got a critical hit, which I gladly take. Last is Blastoise and I switch into Golbat. But Hydro Pump hits and crits, but the crit wasn't relevant. Parasect comes back in and uses Spore. I believe Parasect could have done it, but I switch into Golem to press on the best ability, Self-Destruct, which didn't KO? What? That is crazy. Parasect back in and it nearly goes down because of that, but it survived and Giga Drain finishes Blastoise off. Wow, I wanted to make the ending look somewhat cool with Golem Self-Destruct, but it nearly went bad real fast. The champion is defeated and Team Mount Moon is the new champion of Kanto. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions or advice, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching and I see you in the next one.